Alright, boys and girls, we've been talking a lot about perimeter, and to be honest, all color groups, the blue, the green, the red, the yellow, have been doing a fantastic job. Hopefully you've watched a few of the videos that you were supposed to. Remember, look at your color groups and look at the videos that you're supposed to watch, and it matches up accordingly. This is a video that you guys can dabble with today. Now listen very carefully. Perimeter is different than area. Perimeter is the distance around. If I wanted to build a fence around this rectangle right here, around this quadrilateral, this four-sided figure, I would have to take 8 centimeters here, 8 centimeters here, 3 centimeters here, and 3 centimeters here. Why? Because it gives me the total distance around. I know that my formula for perimeter is length plus width times 2, only with rectangles and squares. 8 centimeters plus 3 centimeters equals 11 centimeters times 2 equals 22 centimeters. Okay? So if I wanted to, I could even write P equals 22 centimeters. That's perimeter. That's distance around. Now wait a second. Who remembers just from Brain Pop, the video that we watched, or just talking in class, what area is? Think about it for a second. And it's not the distance around. Well, there's only one thing that's left. It's the distance within, or it's the distance that covers the whole entire area in here. And when we measure area, we don't just use units, we use square units. Square feet, square yards, square centimeters, whatever. But you have to make sure that it's square. This is what I mean. The formula for area for any single rectangle or square that we're going to be talking about right now, these two polygons, these two quadrilaterals, is this formula right here. Are you ready for this? Length times width. And we learned that it's a little confusing to write LXW, length times width like that. So who can remember the way that we write the multiplication symbol now when we're using different letters? If you guess the little dot in the middle, you're absolutely right. So it would actually be length dot W. These two things mean the exact same thing. And to be all honest, guys, I think that area is a lot easier than perimeter. Perimeter, you have to look up all the sides. I have a solid four-sided figure right here. This is a rectangle. All I know is I have to take my length, which is 8 centimeters, and I have to times it, multiply it by 3 centimeters right here. Okay? If you got to write it out, 8 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 8, go ahead. I know all you guys can do that. If you have to make an array, go ahead and practice your arrays. You're going to see them again later in 4th and 5th grade. That's fine. If you know your multiplication times tables, congratulations. That is what I would like to hear. 8 times 3, everybody, is 24 centimeters. There's one thing that I did wrong right here with my answer. I have to square it. That means 24 square centimeters. 24 teeny tiny little square centimeters would fill up this whole entire rectangle. And as you can see, my answer down at the bottom right here, whoops. Try this again. Let's just go ahead and write this down here. Writes it out a different way. I told you that you could go ahead and write out 24 centimeters squared, or you can also write it out the way that this example does. The area equals 24 square centimeters. That's the area. Do not confuse that with perimeter. Okay? All right, we're moving very quickly. Here's another example. Let's go ahead and take a look at this four-sided figure. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. They give me the length. They give me the width. This time it's different. The width is the longer side, but width goes up and down. That's 7 feet. I know that my length is 5 feet. I know if I take length times width, that's the same as saying 5 feet times my width, 7 feet, which would give me a grand total. 5 feet times 7 feet equals 35 feet. And I have to remember the squared symbol right here, this teeny tiny little exponent that we're just learning how to write, that goes right in the upper right hand corner right here. 35 feet squared. Another way you can write it, thank you for this example right here, square feet. 35 square feet. Look at how quickly that I can do these area problems. Okay, all color groups, these are the different kinds of problems that you're going to see on your test. You have to be very, very careful. Now, some of you are looking at this problem right here. We figured out the area. That's great. On the test, I am also going to write a P, and I'm going to say, what is the perimeter of this shape? Be very careful. Let's go ahead and figure out the perimeter right now. I know that this side is 5 feet, then I know that the other side is 5 feet. I know that this width right here is 7 feet. I know that this width on the opposite side is 7 feet. I can take 7 feet plus 7 feet plus 5 feet plus 5 feet. Go ahead and do that right now and then write down the perimeter. If you do not want to do it that way, all you have to do is take the length plus the width. I know that 7 plus 5 equals 12. I take that 12, I times it by 2, it equals 24 feet. Be very, very careful. The perimeter equals 24 feet. The area equals 35 square feet. Two completely different things. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is I have a $100 question right here. You guys can look this up on Blackboard at home. The video will still be there. Here's your $100 question. This is a question that you'll see in 4th and 5th grade. Are you ready for this? There's your $100 question. You have to find the area of this figure right here and the perimeter. We've been practicing area. We've been practicing perimeter. Go ahead and give this a shot. Now remember, I like to color code things. So remember, length means long. This 6 millimeters right here is length. I know that this 10 right here is length. And I know that this missing side right here is length. I don't know what it is. Then let me go ahead and choose a different color for width. I know that this 20 millimeters is width, because it goes up and down. I know that this 15 millimeters is width, because it goes up and down. And I know this missing side right here is width, because it is going up and down. I'm going to need these two dimensions right here, excuse me, these two sides right here in order to figure out the perimeter and the area. Well, I said that my length is blue, so let's go ahead and figure out my missing blue sides right here. If I know this chunk of side right here from this distance to this distance is 10 millimeters, I can drop it straight down. This dot would go right here, and I know that this dot would drop down right here. Therefore, I can tell you that this distance from this dot right here to this dot right here is actually 10 millimeters. They're exactly the same. Well, I'm going to write it right here, just so I remember. 10 millimeters is dropped down. Now, if I go ahead and look at this dot and I move it straight up, it is actually vertically aligned with this dot right here. If I move over to this corner right here, this edge, and put another dot, I know that it's 6 millimeters in length, going left to right. If I slowly drop down on both sides, I now know that this dot right here, following all the way down to this dot right here, happens to be 6 millimeters. Well, if I know that this chunk is 6 millimeters, and if I know that this side right here is 10 millimeters, if I put these two together, 10 plus 6 happens to be a grand total of 16 millimeters. Okay? And that's how I label it right there. Now all I got left is this red question mark, and I know that red question mark has to do with width because it's a vertical line. So's this line right here, and so's this line right here. So let's try and figure these out. If I know that this distance, this side right here, is 15 millimeters, I know if I push it over against this long side right here, this distance from this dot, oh, probably should have picked red, this dot to this dot is going to be a grand total of 15 millimeters. And that makes sense because it's less than 20 millimeters right here. Now wait a second, they give you the long side. This red dot now to this red dot is a grand total. This whole entire line is 20 millimeters. However, this chunk is 15 millimeters because I know that this side right here, this chunk is 15 millimeters. I have to figure out this missing side right here. Well, I know that 20 minus 15, or 15 plus what equals 20, is 5 millimeters. If I know that this chunk right here is 5 millimeters, I can slide it all the way down, because these 2 points right here are the exact same as these 2 points right here. And I now just figured out my missing side. It is 5 millimeters right here. Now be very careful with this problem right here. Make sure you erase all of the extra sides that you are working with so you don't add too many numbers. You guys know the definition of perimeter, the distance around a shape. All you have to take is the distance around this whole entire shape and add up all of these numbers. You come back and you show me what you think this is and I'll give you credit for it. That's perimeter. Here's how you do area. Now remember we're talking about four-sided figures and how you do length times width. Well guys, you don't have a four-sided figure right here. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. If you remember, a polygon with 6 sides is called a hexagon. We can't figure out the area of a 6-sided figure. But what you can do is you can make it into 2 4-sided figures. So very, very carefully, I would take this black line right here and I would extend it all the way down to here. Look at what you just did. You now have a rectangle here and you have a rectangle here. All you have to do is figure out the area of this rectangle. That'll tell you how many square millimeters this takes up, millimeters squared, and find out the area of this rectangle right here. For example, let's look at this rectangle right here, length times width. Well, what's the length going back and forth for this rectangle? We know that it's 6 millimeters. What is the width? We know that it's 20 millimeters. 6 times 20 millimeters. That right here, this is the area for that rectangle. Then let's go on to this one, length times width. We know that this length of this rectangle right here, this one right here, boys and girls, the length is 10 millimeters, and we would times it, multiply it by its width, 5 millimeters. That would give you the area of that rectangle right here. This rectangle's area plus this rectangle's area will give you the entire area of this whole entire object. Go ahead and see if you can figure that out. Bring that to me tomorrow and I'll give you an extra $100. Very challenging problem. Give you the perimeter and the area.